Twisted Christian. Today I'm going to discuss the 8 wells of Kim Clement. Right? There's been a lot of speculation on what some of those are. There's been a lot of speculation on what Synchrotron, 5.E, the Big E, so forth. But I've spent a lot of time and a lot of energy and effort researching this as best I could. But before we get started, if you guys really like watching my videos, if you guys really enjoy, you guys are learning things, and here pretty soon you're going to start seeing some real investments that I will be sharing. And so, but if you really like my videos, please go to my Patreon and subscribe to the Patreon. Eventually, the $1 will be cut off at some point, and I'm only going to do that after I've promoted my project. That's the animation and graphic novel project across social media. I'm just waiting for my artist to finish up some more artwork, and when we do that, I will offer it to a lot of the people who might be into the project that I'm doing. All right, and then eventually I will make it a little bit higher, because a lot of what I'm sharing with you guys takes a lot of research. And so it's a lot of time, and if you guys are truly interested, see, I'm gonna discuss about the 8 wells a little bit, but the ones who go on Patreon and at least give $1, starting from that point, I said I will be sharing a lot of this information dealing with the specific companies, right? Because there is one company that's the first with one of these wells. It's the first one that actually has a public stock market that just did its IPO. So hopefully you checked out the last couple videos, the 8 wells video update in Synchrotron. And that's pretty big. It's been in the news. And then why so serious about the RV? All right. And the reason why I made that video is because there are many other wells that you can invest in that will allow you to possibly even get more involved in currency trading and to set yourself up so you're just not depending on one well. That's like going out to the desert and they told you there's water out in the desert, right? But you only dig one well. You just dig, your one well is the Dinar. So guess what? You just dig one well and that's it. And yet there's all these resources, there's all this water under the ground, and yet you won't dig but one well. You catch the point. The first well that I'm going to deal with is the Iraqi Dinar. Now, my channel is mostly, a lot of it is focused on that and the global reset and currencies. But we've discussed the dinar on multiple occasions, and we've proven over and over and over again between this channel and Currency 365 and other channels that this thing is happening, and they've been prepping and they've been preparing for it. And so we don't really have to get into all that much, right? So number 1 is the dinar. Number 2 is Synchrotron. Just to give you an idea what Synchrotron is. All right, now it's been in the news, and there's only been one company. There's only one company right now that is trading in the markets, but not here in the United States. It's only trading in the Hong Kong market, and I will be doing a separate video for that for those who are subscribed on Patreon. So if you live outside of the United States, because of where it's trading at, it's very difficult for somebody in the United States to be able to get approved and go through all this approval process and do all these things just to be able to join this particular stock exchange. All right, so here's our article. It says, Diamond Light Source have introduced a new beamline, which they will say go where no synchrotron has gone before. Right? I think when Synchrotron first came out, I don't even remember. I mean, when Kim Clement first talked about Synchrotron, I don't think there was anything on the internet about it. So synchrotron is a type of circular particle accelerator. It works by accelerating charged particles, electrons, through sequences of magnets until they reach almost the speed of light. These fast-moving electrons produce very bright light called synchrotron light. This is very intense light, predominantly in the X-ray region, is millions of times brighter than light produced from conventional sources and 10 times billion brighter than the sun. Scientists can use this light to study minute matter such as atoms and molecules. All right, now synchrotron is being used in laboratories all around the world, but it's now just getting to the surface to where they can be used for multiple things. Now, I'm just going to just have this one article that's actually have to be a subscriber on Patreon, but I'm just going to show you future bright for mini synchrotrons. And as you can see that these mini synchrotrons, what they discuss is all the revolution that comes from these mini synchrotrons, right? And here are just some articles. I'm just gonna read the title, and this is how much synchrotron is going to be involved in our lives. Shining a light on food. That article deals with food science and technology. Synchrotron. Plans accelerate for Israel's first synchrotron. Okay, so they're getting ready to get involved in that. The Space Review, turning a corner on Mars. They're going to be using synchrotron technology for Mars. Okay, thanks to a world record in tomography, synchrotron radiation can be used to watch how metal foam forms. Right, here's another article. Global Proton Therapy Instrument Market 2019-24 unveil growth opportunities. So that article, they dealing with the growth of this particular industry. Okay, MD Anderson to expand proton therapy center with a $159 million project. Okay, and there are many other articles that deal with this technology. We're talking about construction and medical and medicine. Synchrotron is going to be involved in a lot of other things. Now, it almost sounds like a transformer, doesn't it? Synchrotron. Really, this is something that's going to be huge, and like I said, I found the one company, but there's going to be more companies that come out with this technology, and this thing, as far as it being publicly launched, at least here in the United States, it might come later on. It might come after the Dinar. For some of you, when I do this video, who live outside of the United States, some of you will be able to invest in that company right now. So, and right now, that particular stock, the last time I checked it, was at $3.99 USD per stock, right? So we have no idea where it's going to go. And I want to be able to give you guys, for those who live out in the United States, to give you that information. Maybe it'll be listed here in the United States soon. Maybe there'll be other companies that'll be doing that. But you also guys can do your own research too as well. That's why it's going to be important to keep watching this channel, because I will be updating this channel as well as the Patreon. All right, the next one is Firepoint E, the Big E. Now, everybody knows who have watched Kim Clement and Firepoint, and I'll just do a quick search on it. Okay, there are 10 different prophecies concerning Firepoint E. Now, with that, he said there's going to be one company that's connected to Firepoint E that you're going to be able to invest in. But there's only going to be a 14-month window. All right, you can type it in to the search, and you can look, and you can just type in that. But also, too, Firepoint E is also tied to the Big E. The Big E is at the end of Firepoint. I know there might have been some confusion with some people thinking the Big E and Firepoint E. Okay, and here it is. This I intend opening up this year, and starting in February will be the first signs of the appearance of the Big E of Firepoint. Right, so that's connected. They're not two separate wells. All right, so I just want to make that clear. And I think there might be another, he discusses it again too as well. So that's one of the things. Are you guys prepared? If I was to post tomorrow what company that was, are you set up on TD Ameritrade or RobinHood or any of the stock places like Webull, to where you'd be able to type in the symbol or type in the company and be able to go to invest? You know, TD Ameritrade, I know it took me at least 3 days to go through the whole entire process and actually I think almost up to a week to link my bank account and all that stuff. And then you might be in a position to where you don't get a chance to get in as cheap because you're not set up yet. But, those links are down below in the description. But that's the whole thing, is about being prepared, because he said there will be a company that is tied to the big E of Firepoint D, right? Okay. Now, the next one is gold and silver. I don't want to get into a lot of this. I don't really have to show you. When you could do your own research into Kim Clement's prophecy website, but he talks about gold and silver. But I'm only going to count it as one well. I mean, he does talk about gold by itself as far as investing. But if you guys look back at some of my videos and you know what I've said about gold, how they're talking about gold being up to 5, 7, 8, 10,000, and how all the central banks are buying gold, and how that when gold does go up, so does all the reserves of all the central banks. So it's and they'll be able to support their fiat or be able to support their gold-backed currency. So especially if you're like a heavy hitter in the stock markets, you might have a lot of money that you can just, invest in gold. That would be something that I would probably do. That's just another well that you can dig. Not all of us can. That's why I'm looking at gold-backed cryptocurrency, so I can have gold and crypto at the same time. So I'm looking into that, and I will be able to share that here, hopefully within the next week. All right, the next one is oil. In the wells, as far as the wells, when Kim Clement's talking about wells, he brings up oil in the United States a lot, over and over and over again. That's why I was able to connect one of the 8 wells with oil, because he talks about the United States having a lot of oil, and he also talks about Israel having a lot of oil. And one of the stocks that I'm invested in right now that is from Israel is Zion Oil and Gas. And in one of the prophecies, which hopefully I will do a video on that one too, dealing with Kim Clement's prophecy, because I think that there's several companies in Israel, but there's one that's very investable right now. And I know a lot of people say, oh, it's gone down, because they haven't found any gas, they haven't found any oil. But I think things are getting ready to change with that. They just got a 180-day stay on the reverse split, and so they don't have to worry. We don't have to worry about a reverse split. So they have a little time now. They have a little bit more time to find oil and gas. You might even find gold, but I will just leave that up to God on that one. So I will get to that. But when it comes to investing in oil, like I said, there's a lot of companies out there. There's big companies. There are stocks that are $10, $20, $70, $100. The stocks that I'm looking into, the wells that I'm digging into, are some of those wells that we can invest in, right? And I will be sharing those on my Patreon first. I've shared them in other videos before. And one of the things anytime that you invest in a penny stock, and this is something that I had to learn myself, is that anytime you invest in a penny stock, you have to look to see if they have a reverse split pending. And if they do have a reverse split coming, how much time does it have before the company, makes another big deal, or they find more oil, or they find gold, or whatever it is that they're into. So I've invested in some penny stock currencies. I'm talking about currencies that are anywhere from 10 cents to 40 cents, somewhere in that range. And the first thing I look for is to see if they have a pending reverse split. Now, if there is a company that does have a reverse split, and it does its reverse split, then I'll wait to see if the stock goes back down, because they haven't made their deals yet. Because if you look at our economy right now, or if you look at some of the things that are going on with the trade war, there's some companies that will not be able to do that much better until a deal is signed. So you got to watch the reverse splits. And if a company decides that they're going to do a reverse split, they usually give it time to see if they can't get that stock back up to over $1. So when you're doing penny stock researching and you're doing penny stock trading, you have to be very careful and know when the right time is to sell. But there's some oil companies and there's some mining companies that I have invested in, and then I am researching as well. So that way you guys can say, oh man, I can invest in this easy. So I'm going to be doing a specific video on getting yourself ready to be able to get ready to invest in certain things. And I know Currency 365, he's got some stocks on his Patreon that he's discussed. So he's researching Wells too. He's researching Wells as well. Okay, the next one is called Optical Fusion. Optical Fusion. All right, so when you type in, so we'll just go to Kim Clement. He talks about optical fusion, right? And I'm not going to get too much into it, but he does talk about an optical fusion. He called it optical fusion, but he's also relating it to a technology. When you type in optical fusion, right, it gives you definitions, and so forth. But there is a technology that does deal with optical fusion. So I typed in optical fusion and I looked at the news, and there's all kind of information dealing with optical fusion. Right now, this is going to take some research for me to go through. This is not something I could just research in an hour and just give you all the information and give you all the companies and all the stocks and everything that deal with that. So optical fusion is another well that Kim Clement is talking about. All right, the next one is Ford. And with Ford, a lot of people, when Kim Clement talked about Ford before, people invested and people made a lot of money off of Ford. But see, when he talked about the 8 wells, he brought up Ford again. But he also said Ford was going to hit $28. So let's see here. Now just listen. Some of you listened to me when I spoke about Ford stock. It went from $1 something and now it's almost 18. Here's a little secret I share with you guys, give you guys the first insight. Something will happen with America and Japan as a result of it, and a good thing, and there will be an increase in Ford to such a degree that it will go to $28. All right. Now that was back then. So he did talk about Ford. Now, but I also want to take you to this here where he's talking about Ford. There's more to be, and this was in 2014. There's more to be said about Ford, by the way, that was spoken about before, and it's about to transpire. I'll stop right there. Right? This is after he talked about the 8 wells. Okay? This is after he talked about the 8 wells. So I believe that Ford is another well. Now, he said that it would, and this was in 2010. So let's go to the stock market in 2010 dealing with Ford. Right? And let's see if it ever hit $28. Okay, so I'm just going through 2011. It reached the $18 in 2011, right? $17 in 2014. And it slowly declined since then, right? But see, there's other information about Ford that he's revealed that I've found and researched that I'm not going to share right here. Because, like I said, I'm going to be dealing with a lot of these wells. I'm going to be dealing with on an individual basis. And that's why it's going to be important for you guys to watch the channel and keep watching the channel and on the Patreon too as well. So if he says the stock is going to hit $28, and right now you can do that. So right now, if you were to invest, say right now, okay, it's at $8.82. That means you're going to make, about $19 off of each stock if you invest exactly, however much money. All right, one of the other things I want to discuss with the oil and gas is that, I just got my RobinHood up here. You can go to the popular collections, right? And let's say, man, I want to do the research on the oil and gas well, right, that Kim Clement's talking about. So all you have to do is click on oil and gas. And then, like I said, this is just one site. There's Webull, which is down below in the description. There's RobinHood, which is in the description. And then, of course, TD Ameritrade too as well. All right, and by this, you can look at each of the price, but you can also look at the price of oil and gas stocks that rank from the highest to lowest. So these are the highest ones. See here, air products and chemicals, $225 per share. Let's see, you can click it again, and then it'll bring all the penny stocks. All right, so you can see all these here. So like I said before you invest in any penny stocks, make sure you research and make sure that there isn't a reverse split coming at all. Or if it is, how long and how well do you think the company might perform before they actually do the reverse split. You got to be very careful in the penny stocks. So, but when you get up higher, you don't have to worry about that so much. There's a lot of other stocks like Denbury. There's a few others that you might be able to do very well, but you got to do the research. All right, now this is where we get into the interesting part, because I think that when it comes to well number 8, right, and there are actually 3 more other things that he's talked about that I have to research. And they very well could be part of the 8 wells, but I'm giving you what I think are the top 8/9. Okay, and I think that first he does say that there will come a technology that will come from an oak tree that has to deal with something dealing with Einstein's discovery. Okay, I just want to read it to you. My servants, my prophets, the places to invest, and some souls say, this is an Einstein craze, but it shall come from something from Einstein was discovering and bringing forth, but before his time, therefore I had to remove him. This is the time when your discovery shall bring a new source of energy, and it will start in this nation, says the Lord. Okay, so he's talking about Einstein, but now listen. It says right here, I told you that is not only ethanol, but God says something very unusual that was buried decades ago with Einstein shall come to pass and shall be recovered and discovered, and America shall be on the forefront. Wow, right? And God says, between a rock and a hard place something shall come forth, and they shall say, but was this not something that Einstein spoke about? It shall come to pass that even in the soil of Florida, and even out of this state, connected with 3 states, a great and marvelous discovery shall come to pass. And the Lord said, the people that live here and have listened to the prophet shall invest in God. And God said, within months shall be earning millions of dollars because of the incredible insight given to them. And God says, between a rock and a hard place something shall come forth, and they shall say, but was this not something that Einstein spoke about? For God says, yes, but was out of his time, and I had to take him before this could be revealed. But now is the time for the discovery, and science shall suddenly understand the power of the spiritual force that is behind it. God's Spirit says, keep your eye on the tree, keep your eye on the tree, keep your eye on a rock. And God says, between a rock and a heart something shall come forth, and he shall say, but this is not something that Einstein spoke about? For God says, yes. Now, when I was doing the research on that, and all the different investments and everything that came about from that, doing crossword searches and everything, it was the oak tree. He kept talking about an investment into a tree, into a specific tree. Right, so he was talking about specifically, when I did all the research, he was talking specifically about a oak tree. All right, so I just wanted to throw that out there for those of you who want to do your research on Einstein and the oak tree. Maybe something's going to happen where they're going to, bring up his body again. Who knows? Maybe family. Maybe somebody wants to know if they're connected to his family. I have no idea how that's going to happen. All right. Now the other one could have already came to pass, and that's the cryptocurrency, right? And I say this because of this. I'm going to go to a prophecy from December 12th of 2010. So I'm going to go to a prophecy of November 1st, 2008. There's a lot of talk about him in Wells. Wells, Wells. He talks about a lot of different wells. Okay, now I believe this is one of the why this could be cryptocurrency. Right? He's talking about wells up above. Okay. Said, are you prepared to dig wells where they never have dug wells and come forth with something fresh and something new? God says, do not forget the antiquity of this covenant called the everlasting covenant, the covenant that I set in motion before time began, before the stars were spread out in the sky and this covenant existed. And today it is the only thing that will bring me to it. God says, forget the old wells, forget the old fools. God said there is virgin territory. All right, what is this? The key to unlock the mysteries of God in the scriptures, the key to unlock which has not been discovered yet. You are a generation that is set apart to discover that which the church has not discovered yet, that man has not discovered yet. So that's just one. And I say this because, we're in this, in this financial system, an old financial system. And he's telling this generation about this particular it was a new well. What I mean is it just kind of sprang up. Not a lot of people knew about it. And there was only a lot of people didn't get a chance to invest in it. If you would have had, $5 and invested in Bitcoin when it very first came out and you held on to that investment, you're talking about multiplication and acceleration from 2009 all the way up to where it was a few years ago, where it hit 20,000. Imagine what your $5 would have brought you if you were invested. Okay, listen to this. Because I want to raise up billionaires, I said, how are you going to do it? And he said, it's in the earth, it's in the sky, it's in the trees. Now, we talked about the oak tree, and it's out there. You must prophesy it so it can become part of this troop of people that are going to take the kingdom by force and not worry about money. You are the people. Well, Kim, that's impossible. Don't ever say it's impossible. Don't even say Kim possible. I want you to say it's possible. Okay, so there's just a lot of prophecies concerning Kim Clement and about investing and about how there's acceleration and multiplication. And that's one of the reasons why I believe that Bitcoin could have been one, or not Bitcoin, but the cryptocurrency market could have been one of those things. And I say that because there is no other investment starting from the very beginning. If you would have invested very little money, could have made you wealthy today. And that's one of the things that kind of disturbed me about the gurus, because the gurus were so smart. They had all this information, but yet they didn't have information about what the cryptocurrency markets were going to do. They didn't know in advance. They were so smart. They had you so focused on Dinar that we couldn't even, at that time, step outside of the box of anything else. Because guess what? Everybody listening to you that is hearing my voice right now that has invested in the Dinar, what if you would have taken that same exact money that you invested in the Dinar and put it in the cryptocurrencies anywhere between 2009 and 2013, and your life would be totally different. It'd be changed. You would go and probably invest into the Dinar. You would have plenty to invest in the Dinar, but you wouldn't even be thinking about when the revaluation was going to happen, because you would have already been set for life. These gurus didn't know anything what they were talking about. Also, too, there are 3 more other wells that were in association with wells that I have to research. These were things he didn't give names. He just he gave symbols. He talked about showing symbols and stuff like this. There's just some things about those 3 other. There were 3 other possible wells, but see, he did talk about investments in other things. Those are other things that he discussed. So, but the other thing that he also did discuss was digging your own well, right? You might have a business that's your own well right now. It might be something simple, like I'm digging my own well right now with my project. But guess what? I can't dig the project. I can't dig this well alone. This well will have its benefits, but this well is a little bit different than other businesses. The business of doing animation and putting together graphic novels is way different than just opening up a shop and everything, right? I have to be able to build this thing up. I have to build the graphic novel, build and continue to build a lot of the different things with it to try to promote it and try to get it picked up by a company. That's why I try to put myself in a position to where I won't have to. I can start my own production company, my own animation company, my own graphic novel company. When any of these other wells come through, I can do it without having to go to the world. So, all right, folks. So those are the 8 wells. We got the Dinar, the Synchrotron, the Firepoint D, gold and silver. We have oil, Optical fusion, Ford, and the oak tree, which is connected somehow in some way to Einstein. And one of those other wells could have been the cryptocurrency market. Now, I will say this. I do believe the cryptocurrency markets may go for another run. But I've shared with you in my last video, I don't know how long that run is going to go for, because of what the gold back standard is going to. So you guys need to be careful. You need to remember that when your particular crypto that you're invested in, first of all, you have to be settled in your heart that whatever you sell at, that you're fine. Because you could sell it at you can sell a crypto that's at $100, and then the next day it goes up to 110, and you wish you would have waited to sell it, but then later on it ends up crashing, right? So, but you have to be settled in your heart, and this is any of the stocks that you have. You have to be settled in your heart whenever you do sell, that you'll be comfortable with that. Remember, there's going to be plenty of wells, because some of these wells that he talked about, right? Synchrotron, there's going to be multiple companies that you probably will be able to invest in. You got gold and silver. You got, see, when it comes to gold and silver, see, it's not just about buying physical gold. There's going to be companies that you may be able to invest at what? Look for gold and silver. And the same thing with oil, right? There'll be multiple companies. That's why I have one stock that deals with gold. It's very cheap. It's a penny stock, but they do mineral mining. And then you have optical fusion. That's one that I'm researching, and I'm sure there are multiple companies and stocks connected to that. And then you have Ford, which we discussed in that, and where their stock is right now. It's less than $9 a share. So if it does go up to the 28, like Kim Clement said, well, you'll be able to make $19 off each share. So if you have a lot of money already, and something else is going on with that Ford stock, okay? But I'm not discussing it here in the video. I've already ran up past 40 minutes on this video, so I'm gonna have to try to cut it down. So that's why you're gonna have to be a part of the Patreon, because I'm gonna discuss more in detail about Ford. Right, and I believe also one of those 8 wells could have been the cryptocurrency and the oak tree attached to Einstein discovery somehow, some way, something that he was working on. And with the 8 wells from Kim Clement, Christian out.